Diddy got up there because he is part of that ruling class, if you will. But he is a depraved motherfucker if there ever was one. I didn't know about those parties. I knew that there were things he was doing. I can remember one specific instance where I was driving back from Miami. I don't go to Miami that often. In fact, I rarely ever go. But one night, I went out in Miami and I'm driving back on the causeway, and there's Star Island. And I could see, because it isn't that far, maybe a half a mile, that there was a house on Star Island. And this is at like, I don't know, 1, 2 in the morning. And there are lights blazing. It was red. It was a red hue. That was what it was. It was a red hue light. And I could hear the music from the causeway. It was Diddy's house. And there's just something very sinister about him. And I do worry if he's going to get away with this, whether he walks or whether he gets removed. But he is part of a club where people rarely ever get touched. You should be afraid of where things are going because now it's really out in the open. And the more we learn about these things, the more that we evolve as a society, as a species, we're learning just how bad these things can get. There are certain stories I cannot talk about on here, but let me just assure you guys, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I could die 100 times. I would come back as a man every single time. You know why? Because it is so much harder to be a woman. It's not even funny. And at one point in a woman's life, almost every woman, and especially very attractive women, they will be sexually assaulted in some way, shape, or form, whether by grope, whether by unwanted advances out of fear, or sexual assault, or rape. And it's far more common than you think. Now, that's not to say that women aren't bad to men. They certainly are. But, you know, it's kind of like there's always a few bad apples that spoil the bunch. And that's what ends up happening. We're also a society that is overly obsessed with celebrity and wealth. And by that measure, it doesn't matter how depraved a person is. It doesn't matter how disgusting they are. It doesn't matter what they look like. And there are a lot of women who do want to be adjacent to the power structure. And they can use sex a lot more effectively than men can. And that can get them there. In many cases, they don't know what they're signing up for. No one deserves this. But knowing what we know, and especially the code of silence, it's devastating. Diddy is just one of several. But he is particularly depraved because he thinks he's a gangster. He is a no-talent hack. He ain't Pac. He ain't Biggie. He ain't Eminem. He ain't even Milli Vanilli. He's dog shit. He's a sexual abuser and he's a woman beater. And he could be. I ain't saying he is for sure, but he's probably had a few people removed. I'm just saying. I don't know for sure. I'm not saying that he did. But if you told me that it's true, it wouldn't surprise me. Yes, I know a lot about rap music, and I can assure you that he has no talent. The two greatest rappers I've ever heard are Eminem and Tupac. Those are the two best I've ever heard. The true wordsmiths of the industry. I think the best hip hop producer is debatable, but Dr. Dre is really good. The Chronic and the Chronic 2001, you want to talk about, if you really want to hear what great rap production sounds like, that would be a good example of that. A great example would be for anybody who ever listened to the song Mo Money, Mo Problems. It's Mace who has the opening track and Biggie who has the last track. It's actually Combs who ends up in the middle track. But certainly the most forgettable. The abuse that goes on with women in the entertainment industry is sick. Sam, we are a long way away from Run DMC, where hip hop had just an ounce of wholesomeness. But they decided, no, we want to glorify the streets. We don't want to fix the streets. We want to glorify them and make as much fucking money off of them as we can. Right, Jimmy Iovine? The story of Nipsey Hussle is a great example of that and how the streets become way too real. And let the conspiracies fly. The reason I'm talking about Diddy, and I know this is going to be tough for some of you to watch this, but this is an example of what a serial abuser and a serial child abuser looks like in real time. So I'm forewarning you, you're not going to like this. But this is an example of how depraved a human Sean Combs really is. I'd like a few minutes with him alone, if I could.
Introduce yourself.
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Oh, Ava Combs.
What's your other last name?
Ava Baroni.
Eva Baroni Combs? Yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child.
He saw me.
If this doesn't make you sick, I don't know what will. How old is this kid? 14, 13? With that shit-eating grin on his face? Keep in mind that Diddy has been living on the high hog for over 25 years. That's a lot of time and a lot of abuse and probably a lot of missing peoples that we just don't know about. And this is just scratching the surface. Imagine putting this out there. Imagine thinking you really are bulletproof. There is nothing you could do wrong. That you could do whatever the hell you want. Treat people however you want. But I'll get to base chat. I'll get to that in a minute. And I'm going to get to a theory I have about Diddy when we finish this out, if you can stomach it.
And decided to pick me up and said to come inside and play with the kids.
Hey, Ava, that's like a little bit like borderline suspect. I don't want nobody to, we want to get it clear. I adopted you like Madonna adopted kids and everybody else adopted kids, Charlize Theron. Just clarify it, because it's crazy out here online. So I play with the kids and
The physical body language between him and this child is deeply disturbing, as it should be to anybody who's seeing this. First of all, if you guys want to look it up, I think Diddy's like, I want to say he's like 55, but he's dressed like he's 15. I'm pretty sure he's 55. I'm pretty sure that's his age. This is a kid. This is beyond a disgusting publicity stunt. This is the type of story that should be played everywhere, and it should scare everybody. And who knows how many times it's happened. This is just one specific instance where, you want to talk about brazen, corrupt power gone run amok. I mean, this is it. You want to talk about child abuse? And Lord knows what he's on right now.
I got permission from your mother and to say all of that. So just make it, because it's crazy out here. Ava.
Say all of that because I don't really have it. That's what he really wants to say. Or probably what he should say.
Brioni Combs.
Ugh. Well, there's her actual face. It looks like they made a mistake at the last minute and didn't blur it out. Now there's talk of a lot of things. Yeah, we shouldn't even be looking at that child. There's a lot of disturbing things that are going to continue to come out. But will people care and will people believe it? I think that's really the question.